What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Slaylib, aka Foundation, and today we've got another sit down and talk video. I haven't done one of these since the Avengers Endgame video about 2 months ago, but about a week ago we got an announcement for a Pokemon Sword and Shield Direct, which that just puts hype through the roof because we saw Pokemon Sword and Shield at the initial Direct. We just kind of got a little snippet of what the game's going to be about, and we've all kind of been speculating. There's been a lot of rumors, a lot of different ideas on like different mechanics, like a sword mechanic, shield mechanic, Galar region variants of old Pokemon, just a bunch of different like speculation on things that are going to happen in this game. And I just kind of wanted to give my 2 cents on what I'm excited for as a Pokemon fan. For those of you seeing my video that I did a few months ago, a Pokemon Master caught every single Pokemon, about to catch every single Pokemon that Sword and Shield has to offer. But enough about that. Let's just get into the things that we're excited for, the things that I want to see from this new game. And I want to go ahead and say this ahead of the Direct, just so when the Direct comes out we can kind of be like, okay, what did I get wrong, what did I get right, and what could I still possibly expect that we didn't see yet, and just kind of to add to the speculation that will inevitably come from this Direct when it comes out. So the first thing I want to see is updated graphics. When we first saw the Direct for Sword and Shield, the game looks good. The game looks like an HD Pokemon game should. It doesn't look like Pokemon Let's Go, which I'll probably have Pokemon Let's Go footage on the screen so you can get an idea of what Pokemon Let's Go looks like. But it doesn't look kind of like cutesy and kind of the bare minimum of what a Pokemon game could do. Like, this looks like what a Pokemon game on home console should look like. It does kind of look like an updated Sun and Moon, which is kind of where the problem is for me, because I want this game to kind of reach out and do a new art style, because that's what Sun and Moon did. Sun and Moon was a drastically different art style from the games before it, which were X and Y and Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. So I kind of wanted this game to do something similar, and it kind of does. It's kind of like a different thing, but it looks like it's kind of building off of that foundation. So what I really wanted to see from the game is updated graphics, but I'm comfortable with how it looks. I just kind of want it to be polished in how it looks, which we've kind of had some evidence of that already when Pokemon released those screenshots of the t-shirt winning that was going to be in the game, and then it got retconned. But those screenshots that they showed that the graphics were updated a little bit. Things look a little bit crisper, and they'll probably look even better, hopefully in time for this Direct, and definitely in time for when the game comes out. So that's really a main thing that I'm looking for, but kind of lesser on the list just because I know that they're already working on that, so I'm not really too concerned about that one. The next thing is I want this game to be a little bit more open. It's no secret that Pokemon has become a lot more handholdy in recent years. Really started back in X and Y and just got worse and worse since then, eventually leading to Pokemon Sun and Moon, Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, and Pokemon Let's Go, which are the most handholdy video games in existence. I mean, Sun and Moon is always constantly telling you where to go. Go here, go here, go here. And there's checkpoints everywhere. You're never gonna not know what to do, and you're never really gonna have room to just explore the world around you and to kind of experiment and to get an idea of where to go without the game having to tell you every step of the way. And that's really the main thing I'm looking for here. I mean, this doesn't have to be like Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild levels of open world. I understand that Pokemon is a game for younger audiences, and so they're going to want to make it simple enough for people to know where they're going, you know, no matter how young or how old they are. So I understand that there's probably going to be some hand-holding no matter how attuned Pokemon gets to like their older audiences. They're always going to need to keep in mind that younger audiences might have a harder time exploring. But I mean, Pokemon games have had exploration in the past, and they've gotten by. Namely, games like the original games were a big one. I mean, half the time you don't know what you're doing in the original games. Games like Gen 4, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum. I remember there were times where I played through that game and I just zoomed past all the gyms just to get to like Pokemon that were way, way, way past the gyms without ever collecting the gym badges. I think when I played Platinum, I only got like 2 badges, went to a different area, caught a Pokemon that wasn't in Black and White, because Black and White were the games that were out at the time. Got some Pokemon that I needed in Black and White, and then I never touched Platinum again. I mean, And I do regret that. I should go back and play that. But the point being, you could go off the beaten path and kind of make your own adventure. And I'm hoping that Pokemon lets you do something like that in Sword and Shield. Next thing, kind of building off of that, is difficulty. Again, it's no secret, the Pokemon games have become very, very, very easy, to the point where it's kind of not really fun anymore. I mean, if you had to ask me, I'd say the easiest games were Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. I literally blew through those games in a day. And I played both versions, so put them together and I beat them in 2 days. So Pokemon has become too easy. Pokemon has become very, very easy. And I don't know if it's necessarily because we're all just older now, or if it's because the games have just become steadily easier. My 2 cents on it, if you go back to the original games, yeah, the original games were a lot harder, but the original games also had a lot of dumb jank that kind of made it stupid. Like it was hard, but it wasn't hard because the game was hard. It was hard because the mechanics were dumb and broken. And I don't really think that that's the reason why the games have become easier now, like just because it's been streamlined to actually make sense. Because I know that there were games that weren't broken, like Gen 4 had some really good difficulty, Gen 3 had some really good difficulty. So I do understand that some of it has to do with there's no more jank. Some of it, and most of it, has to do with the fact that I think Pokemon is just streamlining it too much for younger audiences. There are 2 possible solutions to that. Either just make the game harder overall, and not too hard for younger audiences, or you keep the game the same way it is. Keep it simple, easy for the younger audiences, and add different difficulty settings. So have like your standard setting for your younger audiences, and then have harder modes for older audiences. They don't need to add like a Nuzlocke mode. They don't need to, you know, add all these fan creations that make the game like way, way harder. They just need to give trainers more Pokemon, give trainers more items, and just kind of let the game get naturally more difficult that way. And yeah, I mean, that's really all they need to do. That wouldn't be a hard solution. I could understand why they wouldn't do that though. I mean, they had difficulty settings in, I think, Black 2 and White 2. So it's definitely possible, but after we talk about something that we're going to talk about later, you'll understand why that might not end up happening. Okay, so the next thing I want to see from Sword and Shield is an engaging story and an engaging progression. My main example for this is Black, White, Black 2, and White 2. In my opinion, Gen 5 had the best story, and that's including all 4 games. Black, White, Black 2, and White 2 actually told an engaging Pokemon story that really asked an engaging question for its audience about like the nature of the Pokemon world, about the nature of the characters. It felt like the characters were actually going somewhere. I mean, especially characters like Charon and N are probably the best examples in my opinion. Charon, he was kind of like this stuck-up kid. He was like nice to you, but he had his aspirations of being the strongest, and then he ended up falling short, and he had to realize that, you know, things weren't all about power. And then you had N, who he wanted to free Pokemon, but he was being manipulated into this organization, Team Plasma, that was trying to steal Pokemon for their own purposes. But he was in that team for like a good reason. And so you kind of see the struggle of a villain that's not really a villain. And then a villain that, you know, is obviously the villain, but, you know, he's kind of masquerading as a good guy. So, you know, that was a good story. And in recent years, Pokemon really hasn't been telling good stories. Well, that's not entirely true. Gen 7 was alright in storytelling. Gen 6 was a hot mess. Oris was not that great. And I mean, it was building off of Gen 3, which also wasn't that great at storytelling. So, Let's Go, I don't even know what happened. I don't know what happened to Let's Go. But, you know, the Pokemon series has kind of fallen off of storytelling. Gen 7 kind of got back on track, but also there was kind of some missteps there, where the characters were kind of not as defined, and it's weird because like they're animated now. Like you can see their faces, you can see their reactions, their emotions, and yet the characters in Gen 5 were so much more alive because they had like defined personalities and they actually grew and learned. And it was also interesting. This is something I forgot about Gen 5. All of the gym leaders you meet actually have an impact on the greater story. It's not just you fight them in the gym and then you're done with them. Like they all serve an actual purpose to the progression of the story. So that was something else that was interesting. All the characters you meet mean something. And I feel like that's really what I want to see from this game's story, is all the characters you meet are going somewhere. All the characters that you meet are growing, and all the characters that you meet have an impact on the main story. And there is a legitimate reason for them to be there. And that's really what I want to see from this game's story more than anything else, is just characters that are meaningful and characters that are engaging and that encourage the player to keep playing and to see not just where the player's journey goes, but where the journey of these characters go in the story. The next thing I want to see is likable characters and rivals. And this is building off of the last point, obviously, but I just want to see characters that I like. I want to see a character that's interesting and fun, and if it's a rival, I want it to be someone that I want to beat. You know, I liked How as a character. I didn't like him as a rival. I felt like How was not very inspiring in terms of being a Pokemon rival. I liked him as a character. I thought he was kind of fun as like a friend character, companion character, but when it came to him actually like fighting against you, being a rival, being stronger, it didn't happen. How did not serve that purpose. And neither did any of the rivals from X and Y. Neither did any of the rivals from Oris. The rival from Let's Go, no. The rival was pretty bad in Let's Go. So, and see, the thing with How is, you know, he has half the equation. I want a likable character, but I also want a inspiring rival. Someone who's stronger than you, someone who's better than you, and someone who inspires you to get stronger so that you can face that character. That's what Blue was. That's what Silver was. And I want to see a rival that kind of steps up in that way. My only thing is I'm not really a fan of people that say that just because a rival is like not mean, just because he's a nice guy, it means that he's not a good rival or not a good character. I understand like him not being a good inspiring rival, but to say that like he's not a well done Pokemon character, I think is kind of wrong. I mean, if it's a likable character with a likable personality, you know, and I don't want it to be like every character's Blue, every character is Silver, you know, where everyone's just a jerk to you all the time, because I mean, that's no fun. And it's repetitive when it gets that way. You know, it's just one more repetitive thing in the Pokemon formula, which Pokemon has a long history of being very repetitive, so I don't think that they need that one more repetitive thing in the game, you know? Like, oh, you know, here's a part of the formula, you get a Pokemon, you meet a jerk, and then you hate him, and you want to beat him, and I want a rival that encourages you, but he doesn't necessarily need to be a jerk. He just needs to be an interesting character who is going on his own journey, who is strong, and who challenges you. That's really what we need to see from a rival. He doesn't necessarily need to be a jerk, but he just needs to be an interesting character with an interesting arc, who's strong and who's capable and who really challenges the player to get stronger and to progress along with that rival. Okay, believable villains. Here is the problem with Pokemon villains. And it's about 50-50. Like half the time they did it, half the time they didn't. We get a villain team that just does not make sense. The biggest example of this would probably be Team Aqua, which I think Team Aqua looks cool, but their motives just are stupid. Like, oh, we want to save Pokemon by making more water, by getting rid of land. But like, where are you gonna go? I mean, I guess they could live on boats, but how are y'all gonna like plant crops? How are y'all gonna, you know, keep yourself sustained? I mean, if you make more ocean, where are you gonna get the fresh water? You know, and it creates all these different questions of like, why would you think this would be a good idea? And Team Magma made a little more sense, but it was still kind of dumb. Like, oh, we want to make more land. Like, okay, but you know, if you get rid of the ocean, you know, if you get rid of water, you know, where are you gonna drink? You know? it's just neither of their motives really made any sense. And then you have Team Flare, which is just kind of like, we're gonna nuke the world because it's not beautiful anymore, and we're gonna kill all the Pokemon. And on that note, I don't even know why using the ultimate weapon would just kill all Pokemon. I guess that's what it was designed to do, but it still just kind of was just dumb. Like, you know, you can make things better without, you know, nuking the whole world. I mean, if they kind of made it, like, to a lesser extent, like, you know, going bit by bit by bit, you know, and then kind of growing into that, I guess it makes sense. But the fact that they just went immediately to, you know, mass genocide, it just really did not rub me the right way. So there probably will be a villain team in this game, unless they just decide to make a one villain thing, which would be kind of cool, but or maybe just not have a villain at all, which they definitely will not do. There will be a villain team in this game. It's almost, you know, a 100% true fact without even being confirmed. So what I really want to see is a villain team that makes sense. Even if, you know, they're obviously wrong, it still makes sense why they came to their own conclusion based on the progression of the characters, like we talked about earlier, and that we really, you know, believe that these guys really believe in what they're saying, and that it makes enough sense to be understood as like how someone could come to the conclusion that they come to, even if, you know, we disagree with it, which obviously we need to disagree with it too. I mean, not necessarily. It could be something like Team Plasma, where it is kind of up in the air, like where Team Plasma kind of equates Pokemon battling to like dogfighting, and so there's this whole debate throughout the game of like, is it ethical to be a Pokemon trainer? Is it ethical to train Pokemon? They could do something like that, where it kind of like actually makes the player question what they're doing and if whether or not what they're doing is right. They could do something like that, but they don't have to. It would be interesting though. I actually would kind of like that now that I think about it. But they don't have to do that. That's just kind of something that would be cool. And also, you know, I'm kind of just a really big fan of Black and White, so anything that kind of mirrors off of that game would be fine by me, because I feel like those games were kind of like the pinnacle of what Pokemon can be when it tries to be as an RPG. So kind of moving off of things that have to do with story, we're going to talk about the game interface. So specifically online interface. So I want an online interface that's accessible. If possible, I would love for them to bring back the PSS. And in my opinion, they should have never gotten rid of the PSS in the first place. The PSS was too easy, too simple, too perfect, for lack of a better word. It was too perfect of an online system for Pokemon to be scrapped. And the only reason why Pokemon scrapped it is because they wanted to do something new. And so they made the Festival Plaza in Sun and Moon, and in Let's Go, they didn't even have like a plaza. They just kind of had a little password system, and you got matched up to whoever had the same password as you. Needless to say, I don't want to see either of those back in this new game. I don't want to see either of these in Sword and Shield. I think they're either clunky and kind of annoying like the Festival Plaza, or they're way too basic to actually get what you want, like the trading system in Let's Go. There needs to be a dedicated, there obviously needs to be a GTS, which I'm not worried about the GTS coming back, but that obviously needs to be there. And we need something like the PSS. And my biggest problem with the Pokemon company is they always feel like they need to do something new, even if it means just scrapping something that was perfect the way it was from a previous generation. I feel like Pokemon Company and Game Freak need to understand that, like I mentioned, the Pokemon Company loves to repeat themselves, and I think they understand that the fans are kind of tired of the things they're repeating, so they're doing all these things differently, but they're doing things differently that don't need to be changed, and keeping things the same that do need to be changed. And so the PSS was something that didn't need to be changed. And so if I had to put it like on a wish list, like what I would want it to be, I just want them to bring back the PSS. I don't think they will, but I just want them to bring something like that back, because it's just the easiest way to do it. It makes the most sense. It was easy to handle, it was easy to understand, and it was easy to get what you wanted out of the Pokemon Online experience with the PSS. So I just want them to have something like the PSS where it's just easy and accessible to play Pokemon online and to trade and to battle and to do all of those things that you can do online with Pokemon. Now, talking about new stuff, I do want them to do some new things with this game. I want to see fun new features and mechanics. One thing that I think every Pokemon game has done well, especially from X and Y onward, and this is one of the few things that I think all the modern games have done well, is all of them have added a new interesting way to shiny hunt. Like X and Y had the Friend Safari and Horde battles and chaining. Even though chaining was kind of difficult to do, they still had it. Oris had the Dex Nav, I think it was called. Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon had the whatever it was called, where the buddy Pokemon jumped in and you kept on chaining off of one encounter until you got a shiny and your shiny odds went up. And then Ultra Sun had the wormhole, and then Let's Go had catch chaining, where you just caught a bunch of the same Pokemon until a shiny showed up. Every single modern Pokemon game has had a new interesting way to shiny hunt. And so I think that we're probably going to see some kind of new form of shiny hunting in Sword and Shield as well. That's not really a wish list. If they just did something like Sun and Moon, if they just did something like X and Y, or Oris, or even something like Let's Go, which they probably won't do, but I would be fine if they did. Like any of those I would be okay with. But I think they probably will try something new with that one, and I'm definitely okay with that. Another thing is, since I mentioned the Pokemon Company is not changing things that need to be changed, it's really been talked about for so long, it probably won't come as a shock that I'm going to say this, but the battle mechanics need a shakeup. They've needed a shakeup since Gen 3. They've needed some form of shaking up. And in some ways they've gotten it. They've gotten natures added, abilities added, the physical special split, mega evolutions, Z moves, held items, all these different things that were kind of added into the game to kind of shake it up. But they've still kept the same gameplay at its core. They've just added extra stuff to kind of think about while you're doing that. And so I really want to see some kind of new mechanic that really makes you change the way you play the game. I'm not saying it so much to where it doesn't feel like the original games, but I just kind of want something in there that makes it feel more like a traditional JRPG. That's just kind of the only thing I can think of. Like Final Fantasy VII. I'm not the hugest fan of Final Fantasy VII, but one thing that I thought was really interesting about it, and I'm sure this is in other RPGs as well, is this idea that you build up a meter as you're attacking. And so I think it would be interesting if they had some sort of meter that you built up as you were battling. And when that meter got to the top, then you could unleash some kind of new form or new move. Not necessarily a Mega Evolution or a Z move, but just something kind of in that vein. I mean, that's just an idea off the top of my head. They might do something completely different, and I'm not the game developer, they are. So they have full control over what they want to do with that. But I would be very interested to see what the Pokemon Company chooses to do to shake up the formula. They have said, Junichi Masuda, I believe, has said that they want to try to do... Oh, no. I'm sorry. That was Satoshi Tajiri, I believe, who said, they're going to try and do a lot of different new things in this game. And I'm really excited to see what that ends up looking like. And my final thing here, and this is more like a quality of life thing than, an actual critique. I want to see more Pokemon in this game. Gen 6 and Gen 7 were kind of bare bones in terms of how many new Pokemon they showed off. Gen 6 had 60 new Pokemon. Gen 7 had 70 new Pokemon, and that's including the extra Pokemon from the Ultra games. Gen 6 and Gen 7 really didn't offer that many new Pokemon, and they kind of offset it by adding Mega Evolutions in Gen 6 and Alolan forms in Gen 7. Those were kind of the things that they put in there to kind of offset the fact that they didn't have as many new Pokemon in those games. And I guess that worked out fine. I did enjoy those games. And the Pokemon that they did add were fantastic in my opinion. But in this game, I really just want them to focus on more new Pokemon. And I'm talking at least 100 new Pokemon. Because before Gen 6, 100 was the standard. Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, Gen 4, and Gen 5 all had at least 100 Pokemon. And all of them, except for Gen 2, had at least like 30 more, I think, than 100. Like, they all added a bunch of Pokemon. And these past 2 games kind of haven't done that. So I really want Sword and Shield to just kind of put aside the gimmicks and to just give us more Pokemon. And if they have the gimmicks, that's fine, but I don't want the gimmicks to be an excuse to not deliver in terms of more Pokemon. I think there are a lot of people besides myself that really want to see more new Pokemon in this game, that really want to see just a bunch of new Pokemon to catch. And also on that note, as an aside, the past 2 games also had this thing where they had a bunch of like old Pokemon, which kind of made things worse, you know, in the fact that there weren't as many new Pokemon, because everywhere you went, when you were trying to look for new Pokemon, you just saw a bunch of old ones. So maybe not have as many old Pokemon in this game. Like, if, say that they do have 100 new Pokemon in this game, instead of having like 400 old Pokemon, maybe make it like 200, 300, probably leaning more towards 200, maybe like 150. I really want the new Pokemon to shine out in this game. And if it's like 50 or 60 or 70 like in the past 2 games, then that would be fine. But also lower the amount of old Pokemon too, so those new Pokemon can still get a chance to shine out. Because I felt like the Gen 6 and Gen 7 Pokemon really ended up getting overshadowed by all the old Pokemon, especially when they had shiny new Mega Forms and Alolan Forms that kind of, you know, were big and new, but also old and retro, so everyone kind of gravitated towards that. I want this game to let the old Pokemon shine out. The new Pokemon shine out. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about Pokemon Sword and Shield and kind of what I'm looking for in these games. Overall, I'm really excited. Apparently the hype hasn't really built up for everybody else in this game. But for me, I've been excited since the initial announcement. I'm excited to see where this game takes us and what the Galar region ends up looking like. I hope the rest of y'all are excited as well. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to give it a like and also hit that subscribe button. It really means a lot to me. Also, as a quick announcement, I do have a Discord server, and you're more than welcome to join. And I also started a Twitch channel, and I'll be trying to stream on there at least once a week. Feel free to follow the Twitch channel and join the Discord server. You're more than welcome there, and I'd be happy to have you. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video, which will be pretty soon. So I hope y'all enjoy.